I was a 31-year-old investigative reporter in 1971 and had just gotten sprayed asbestos insulation banned by the city of Chicago when I was hired by a new news department at WLUK-TV in Green Bay, Wisconsin. This week, I'm 80 years old, and WLUK-TV is celebrating its 65-year history, and they're kind enough to include me.
Relaunch was met with a strong on-air team. Al Sampson, or as Vince Lombardi dubbed him, Big Al, was the sports anchor and became Northeast Wisconsin's expert in outdoors reporting. After a diagnosis of throat cancer, Bob Schultz took over at the sports desk.
The Bucks have signed number 1, Sidney Moncrief,
while the popular outdoorsman worked primarily from the field.
More highlights, more scores. News Center 11 Sports is next.
Also adding to the evening news powerhouse, Glen Loyd, the action man, fought for consumer protection and brought justice to the underdog.
I would like to get a sample of that and test what you have in the tank.
There's no way to get a sample.
All you have to do is take this off, turn the car over, and put a sample in a little jug for me, and I can have it tested. Let's do that right now.
Stanley Siegel and Ray Wheeler were named co-anchors, a first in the market.
Good evening, everyone. This is Stanley Siegel. That's right, Stanley Siegel.
Bob Thomas, a well-known meteorologist from Chicago, made his move to Green Bay.
Get out for tomorrow. By tomorrow night, then chance of a little bit of rain.
And after leaving the station to sail the world, Jackie Brockington became his replacement.
You know, Bob, I've really got mixed emotions about this moment.
Yeah.
We hate to see you go, yet we're excited because of this dream, you know, that you're realizing right now, and you're being able to cast off on your boat and just do the thing that you dreamed about.
It's a combination of a lot of years. And sort of like you, I have very mixed emotions.
Good luck, good buddy, and God bless you.
Thank you.
That's our news for tonight. Good night.
Jackie made history at WLUK, becoming the state's first African-American on-air personality.
You can say that the whole day was mostly overcast skies, and we're going to have more of the same for the next 2 days.
WLUK is also credited with hiring the first female television news reporters, first woman news director in the market, and offered equal pay for men and women in all departments.
In 1975, new technology could put a reporter live on the air, even miles away.
Nowhere else but on TV 11 News. Scoop is first. TV 11 News with Scoop, the live action camera.
WLUK was the first station in Wisconsin to operate with this ENG, electronic news gathering transmitter. Scoop, the live action camera, was used for 30 days straight, covering the Native American standoff in Shawano County. WLUK was the only TV crew allowed inside the novitiate, and the stories were fed around the country. Also adding to WLUK's coverage was the Sky Scoop helicopter, usually tracking down breaking news, except this day when action man Glen Loyd granted a dying boy's wish to ride in a helicopter.
You happy?
Yeah. This is the best thing I ever done in my whole life.
WLUK is also credited with becoming the first station in the market to run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Live programming on WLUK expanded throughout the decades. 30-minute newscasts at 6 and 10 were replaced by hour-long newscasts at 5 and 9.
The news doesn't wait until 10 o'clock. You shouldn't either. Now there's Fox 11 News at 9, bringing you a more complete look at local news, weather, and sports when you want it, an hour earlier. Serving Northeast Wisconsin like no other news organization can. Fox 11 News at 9. Sooner, better.
WLUK's morning show, News 11 Today, later renamed Good Day Wisconsin, now airs up to 4.5 hours live every day. And after 12 years returning to the NBC network, WLUK made one final network change in 1995, becoming its present-day Fox.
The station has come a long way since those days in the 60s and 70s.
Coming up next, we'll relive those moments with some familiar faces.
You won't want to miss it.
Hey, WLUK and Northeast Wisconsin.
Congratulations on 65 years together.
Congrats to Northeast Wisconsin's most favorite station, WLUK, celebrating 65 years together with you.
In 65 years, a lot of on-air talent have served in this studio.
Many you grew up watching.
We had a chance to sit down with a few of them decades later to find out what really happened behind and in front of the cameras.
I was the first weekend anchorman at TV 11. And I got up here and I didn't know that they had Indian names that were hard to pronounce, like Shano and Ashwaubenon. Then I couldn't pronounce them. And on Monday, the boss called me into his office and he said, "You're no anchorman." And fortunately, I was a better investigative reporter. But I was the first weekend anchorman at TV 11, and I only lasted one weekend.
When I came here, it was black and white film, 2 reels. We had 16mm film, rapid reversal, so it was a negative, and you had to run an A roll and a B roll. And
You ended in the green screen. What did you start with?
Boards. The first boards were basically large wall maps. The wall maps would be usually that of North America, or at least a good portion of the United States and Canada. And then secondly, they'd have a more regional map. Eventually that came to a degree of magnetization where you could put symbols up and so forth. And now, of course, the chroma keyboard and all of its applications.
I was the consumer reporter, the Action 11 reporter.
You have a problem? Write to me, Glen Loyd, at Box 77.
And at one time I was getting 100 letters a day and 100 telephone calls a day. And we got a lot of good stories.
I had my first child practically on the air. I worked until he was, I think, 3 days before he was born, and just kept pushing back from the anchor desk. And about an hour after he was born, they showed up with cameras in my hospital room.
Oftentimes we were working all day long, and I think a lot of people, when they watch television news, they think, how cushy is this? Well, what they didn't realize, it was a lot of muscle. And it was a scramble often to get to that news desk in time. And I still to this day have nightmares once in a while that I simply can't get through that door from the makeup room to the desk and the newscast has started. It's this god-awful nightmare, but I think as an anchor person, you know where your job is. It's to be on that desk and on from the moment the camera turns on. But behind the scenes, you're part of the team to put the newscast together.
Live from WLUK-TV, this is News 11 at 10.
when we started the news in '71, we did some really ridiculous things at the beginning of those newscasts and in the newscasts themselves to get attention. So people the next day would say, "Did you see what they did on 11 last night?" And in 4 years, we were #1.
TV 11 News continues. I'm Stanley Siegel. And things happen today to people here and around the world. Ray?
We had Stanley Siegel, who was a tall, handsome guy. He was funny, and he would do anything to get people to watch.
35 gallons of lemon jello.
He did right here in this studio. They got him fired. Stanley was he was itching to get fired. But he said, what would it be like to be a cherry in a jello mold? So he got the studio hands to fill up a bathtub filled with jello. And he slipped down into the jello and he said,
"On special assignment at the bottom of the largest jello mold in the continental United States."
And I was with him, and I held the speaker to the snorkel, and he was cracking all these jokes, and he got out, and he was fired the next day. He's just an outrageous person.
This is TV 11 News in for Friday, July 12th, 1974.
People make a difference. People like you.
WLUK and Northeast Wisconsin, congratulations on 65 years together.
Congratulations, WLUK, on 65 years serving Northeast Wisconsin.
What was your best part or favorite part of the job?
just getting to learn about something different every single day, being in the know and getting paid for it, and just the power that we have to affect good and change. I think that was probably my favorite part. My least favorite part, you want to know that?
Yes.
Weekends, Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve.
One thing that people know you for, John, is 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago, you started naming winter storms.
We are able to name our first snowstorm. It seemed to have caught the public's eye. I recall one time a contest that was set up around the naming of the storms. The prize for the winning category and the winning list of storms was a trip to Flin Flon in Manitoba or a snowblower.
Oh.
And the winners were faced with the decision: do they want to go to Flin Flon, or do they want the snowblower? They eventually chose, after some consternation, they eventually chose the snowblower.
When I came to Green Bay, it really smelled bad.
It smells horrible in Green Bay today, and that's why I'm here. This is a story about the smoke and the stench in northeastern Wisconsin.
In downtown Green Bay, the air pollution was so bad, and so I personally sued 8 major industries in Green Bay. And at the end, these industries either proved that they were doing everything they could to curb air pollution, or they promised in writing to install air scrubbers. It was a big deal. All of the other TV stations came and covered it. That was the biggest environmental story that I did.
When you look back, what are you most proud of during your time as a sportscaster in Green Bay?
Well, I think, and this sounds funny, but we could be honest.
Marquette basketball was the lone exception. The Bucks, the Brewers, the Badgers, basketball and football, and the Packers were all losers.
Before the era, when it began to change, he just mouthed essentially the PR extension of the Packers. And we got to be honest on the air, and it was fun. Sometimes people didn't like it. So I'm on the air one night here, and my wife gets a call a little after 10 o'clock. And the guy says, "Are you watching your husband on TV right now?" She said, "Yeah." "Well, take a good look. You'll never see him alive again." Yeah. So I got an escort home, and there were unmarked cars parked around my house for a couple nights.
I've been sued for stories at TV 11 for millions of dollars. Unsuccessful lawsuits, but still you worry about it. So every week I'd have people mad at me, and then Friday would come and I'd go out and do these wonderful stories with kids that would just volunteer to help a little kid. So I did one of those stories a week, a good story a week, and that always got me going.
Oh, thank you.
I have always said this about this station. I never felt more connected to communities than at TV 11.
I'm thrilled that I spent time here. I'm thrilled that I moved on and did other things and had more kids. But I always tell my students when they're looking for internships, first stop, you go to 11.
The 12 years here, followed by the 12 years I had at Schneider, put together about 24 of the best years of my life.
The experience has made me and my wife appreciate Green Bay, Wisconsin, and we are so glad to call it home.
Congrats to Northeast Wisconsin's favorite station.
WLUK, celebrating 65 years together with you.
What happened to my good friend Stanley Siegel after he was fired in Green Bay? Eventually, he got his own show in New York City and became a famous fixture there. He passed away a few years ago. I'm Glen Loyd.